You are never too old to pursue your dreams. We'll have more on that story next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to City Corner. Boomalally is a new startup that helps you find the key to happiness. And here to tell us more, please welcome our guest, Deborah Gott.
Hello.
Hi, Deborah, this was your brainchild.
This was my brainchild.
And we're never too old to follow our dream?
Never, never. I mean, when we're talking 100-year lifespan, 50 is halfway. Got a whole lot of dreaming to go.
I just interviewed an artist on my radio show this week who is having an exhibition coming up in Wood River, Illinois, and she's 103 years old. So I think that makes your point right there.
It really does.
Yeah. Well, first I have to ask you about the name of your organization, Boomalally. It's a word I've never heard.
Yeah. So actually it comes from a book of regionalisms. It was a woman in the 1950s from North Carolina came up with the word. That's where it came from. And what was neat about it is she loved watching military members march to music. And so she called a military person marching to music a Boomalally. And so we found it, we grabbed it, and we said, let's put a 21st century spin on it. And so a Boomalally is anybody who marches to the sound of their own drum.
And marching towards happiness?
Towards happiness.
And so what you're really trying to do is help people over 50 years old who maybe want to stop what they've been doing, but they don't want to stop living or pursuing their dream. Is that sort of it?
It's totally it. It's jump-starting your next chapter.
All right, well, I'm going to share something personal with you because I really identify with this. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm one of those over 50 people. Don't laugh. And not only that, I did quit my full-time job a year ago, October the 6th, and the reason I did it was for exactly the reasons that you're talking about. Because I didn't want to stop working, I didn't want to stop having fun, but I wanted to do something I was totally happy with, not just partially happy with.
And I as well. 1 year ago, August 7th, I walked away and said, I'm going to do this.
Well, can we find out a little bit about you?
Sure.
You're not originally from St. Louis.
I'm an Alabama girl.
When did you move here?
We moved here about 4 years ago from Washington, D.C., so we were refugees from D.C.
I lived there twice.
Did you?
I love D.C.
Yeah.
But you have a PhD in something.
Communication.
And that's what you did? You were a university professor?
I was for 30 years. I took early retirement from Cal State Long Beach, and I was like you, I want to do something different after 30 years.
What was your dream? Or did you know what your dream was?
Well, I was, post 9/11, I was very, very interested in service to country. I was an Army brat. And so post 9/11, I said, I want to do something different. I want to serve in the government. And so I said, I'll apply for 2 jobs, one with the State Department and one with an intelligence agency. 2 sides of the same coin, right? So I applied for 2, actually got interviews for both, and then got a job offer from the intelligence community.
Are you still doing that?
I really can't say.
You'd have to kill me, right?
Correct.
Okay. Your organization's Boomalally has just been around, what, a year or something? Or?
It has been a year.
And how many people have you worked with in a year's time?
So we've worked with a lot of people, and in fact, one of the things we're doing is building this broad community here in St. Louis to the tune of 540 members of our Meetup group that are very, very interested in this idea of celebrating life after 50.
Did you get this idea? I mean, do you know of other organizations in other parts of the country that do this? Are you modeling this after someone else or what?
No, and in fact, one of the things that we did was a lot of research to find out who was really focusing on it. And there was a lot of blogging and writers and people talking about it. But I was about 6 years into my job with the basically NGA, which is here locally. And I just decided, you know, there's so many people who are afraid to retire, or they're running towards retirement and not knowing what they want to do. And it's the not knowing what you want to do that can actually cause you to flunk retirement. you can flunk retirement.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, it means that when once you retire, you often don't have a game plan about what you're going to do next. You often don't understand what emotionally the toll is going to be to no longer be.
Excuse me, you're describing me a year ago.
Exactly, to be the boss, to have this whole network of people, to command authority, and all of a sudden you've got golf, and golf is awesome, but does it sustain you? And so I was listening to a lot of my colleagues talking at work, and I don't know what I want to do, and I thought, that's something I think I could help with, is help people make this transition.
Yeah, I know personally speaking, I can relate to what you're saying because I didn't have any plans. I quit my job, and the first 2 or 3 months was really fun because it was like I've never had a 3-month vacation before. But then it really got on my nerves.
Yeah.
Because you need some structure and you need something fulfilling. You just can't relax every day.
Agreed. The relaxing gets old.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. I think you contend that this is a trend. Are people, let me understand it though, are people retiring a little earlier to do this? Because you talk about 50 and over.
Mm-hmm. The reason I talk about 50 and older is that, and this is something I learned from my last job, is you have to plan in order to get to where you want to go. And so at 50, you're still pretty happy, but you're looking a little bit beyond what am I going to do like 15 years from now. But in terms of the trend, I mean, we're talking 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day.
10,000 a day?
A day. That's according to a recent Boston University study. And if you do the math, 3.65 million boomers will retire in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people.
It is. What about someone's financial condition? That has to play into it, right? I would think maybe not all people can afford to follow their dream, as sad as that sounds?
No, it's true. And part of it's a good news, bad news situation, because when you are 50 and older, all of your focus, or so much of it is, when you think about your future, is, will I have enough money to last? Will I have that retirement? Will I be able to sustain, literally, I could live to 100. What's that going to look like? And so there's a lot of planning that goes on in financial management, financial wellness, if you are able to do that. But if you cannot retire, it doesn't mean that you can't do what you want to do with a side hustle, right?
Right.
You can pursue your passions on the side, use that as a runway to build out. And if you do that runway while you're working in those few last years, when you walk out the door, you've already built this amazing runway.
I hope maybe you can give me some advice a little later because, like I said, I've been retired a year, almost exactly, and I'm doing a few other things, but I don't think I've found my dream thing yet because I'm not sure I know what it is.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. So is this a free service? Do people pay you a big hefty fee to do this, or how does it work?
So actually, some of it's free and some of it isn't. But the free part is for people who aren't sure, who really need inspiration or ideas. We actually have a digital magazine that's called Boomalally Beezing. And what it does is it tells stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things after they're 50. Mm-hmm. And so that's free. It's easy to just log in and see the magazine. And so that's something we try to do, is really inspire. The second piece of it is if you are looking for a way to plan it out but you're not sure how to plan it, we do one-on-one counseling and advising for how do you set up and plan for that runway. And then I'm good at planning, I don't really need one-on-one, but I'd love to have some tools and techniques, then we're doing workshops and retreats in that way. So those are our primary things, and then we're, like I said, building this community on Meetup. So
do you find most people are like me and they don't exactly know what their dream is? Is that the typical part of it?
It's typical.
Yeah. Is there any more to talk about the trend? We kind of touched on it briefly about this happening more and more across the country, and maybe you don't have facts and figures, but can you just kind of describe it to me, what the trend is, and is there a reason for it?
Well, the baby boom is the reason for it.
Just because there are more of us, you mean?
There are more of us. There are a whole lot of us. And right behind us, of course, is Gen X. And so as baby boomers are moving through that 50, 65, they're moving forward, those Gen Xers are also crossing that threshold of 50, and they're saying, what do I need to do? What do I want to do? And I think there's the biggest thing I think that we lose when we do all this financial planning to get past a certain age, like 65, we don't really learn how to focus on what do I want to be, what do I want to do, and how am I going to get there? And so I think the trend is focusing on money, 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 money.
You got to pay the bills.
You got to pay the bills. And so money is incredibly important, but you also have meaning and purpose in a sense of, why am I here? What can I do? What can I give back? Because that's also a trend. As we age, we want to give back more.
Okay, here's a thought thing I want you to comment on, because it crossed my mind too, and I can't say that I've ever really suffered from prejudice because of this, but I'm aware of it. It was in my mind. And what I'm getting at is sometimes society makes you feel a little irrelevant the older you get. So here I am, I'm 63.
Yeah.
They want somebody younger, whoever it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm has been. Don't we feel, doesn't society make us feel that way sometimes?
Certainly American society, right? In other cultures, that's definitely not the case.
Is that true?
That is true. Other cultures actually aspire, the older you get, literally you're aspiring to that. So one of the things I studied was Native Americans, and in the Kiowa tribe, for example, you aren't an adult till you're 40. They actually have an adult ceremony.
I didn't act like an adult till I was 40.
Exactly, and that's they got that. And so other cultures really are different about that, and they look at it differently. We're a very youth-oriented culture, and so what happens in our culture is ageism, and that's another trend where people start sidelining you, right, because you've been here 20, 30 years, and they think they've pigeonholed you. And so to be able to move up in your company to continue that, or even to change to another career, you have to be really, really good at knowing who you are, what your accomplishments are, to repackage yourself as somebody that's desirable, that is of value more than a millennial who can make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 less. They also don't have that brain and that institutional knowledge.
I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah, well, they haven't lived long enough.
You'll probably be helping millennials one of these days.
If I'm still alive.
Yeah,
yes.
if not you. Your organization probably will be, though.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, what do you think we should do? Maybe do you think you could help me find my dream, or?
We could do it.
Yeah?
We try.
You're not saying that's easy, though, are you?
Oh, goodness, no. But it's a starting place.
Are you always 100% successful?
I think we're 100% successful at getting you through your next step and knowing that you've got a plan. And so, because we're only a year old, we're just now getting our feet under us, but I do have 61 years of
And I guess you can't figure, when it comes down to it, I've got to figure out what it is. You just help me figure it out.
I help you figure it out.
Right. All right. Well, Boomalally and finding happiness over 50 is our topic today. We're going to take this break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
There's so many reasons to love St. Louis, you can't pick just one. on the arts, architecture, and culture. An all-new development, including the Cortex Community Center. And you're never too far from great music and entertainment.
So come and experience St. Louis.
Deb Gott is our guest today. She's the founder of a new startup in St. Louis, Boomalally, which helps people over 50 years old who want to retire and change course in their life. These are my words, Deb. Follow their dream and pursue what makes them happy.
Yes.
Is that a pretty good way to put it?
Pretty darn good.
You've just been in operation for about a year.
1 year.
Are you doing everything that you're going to do, or are you still in that learning process to find out how to operate, or you got it all covered?
Nope, always learning,
Yeah.
always learning.
Okay, let's give people an example of what you do. So, like I said before, people 50 or over, they don't want to retire, they want to follow their dream, do something that makes a difference to them and make them happy. And we made the point before, I quit my job a year ago, and I'm still not sure what my dream is or how to follow it. So are you able to help people like me figure that out?
Yes.
All right, how do we start then? Say I come to one of your meetings, here I am,
Yeah.
and say, hey, I quit my full-time job, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. What are the questions you ask me?
So probably the first one would be, just to get to know you a little bit first, but the first one would be, so I want you to think for a minute 5 years from now.
Okay.
So I just want you to think about 5 years from now. Where would you be 5 years from now if you could be anywhere?
You mean job? You mean what I'd be doing
Nope,
for
where?
a job?
Just where?
You mean location?
Location. Where would you be?
Oh, gee. Walking distance to a beach?
Very good. Okay. So 5 years from now, you're walking distance from a beach, right?
I'm getting excited already.
You can see that, yes? So what would you be doing that would make you extraordinarily happy while you are walking distance to the beach?
Either hosting the Steve Potter radio show or acting in a movie.
Okay, very good. So what we've got is your where, and we've got your what. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to, because being something and doing something, a little bit different. So you want to do the Steve Potter show, right? You want to maybe do some
Which I do
acting.
now in Alton, Illinois. Let me throw that out there. I had to
Yeah,
plug that.
we should probably do that. So if you see yourself in like this holistic kind of way in 5 years, who would you want to be? Who do you want to be when you grow up?
You're not talking about me identifying with a certain person.
No, just who you would like to see yourself in your happiness moment.
What I said before, like, gee, I would love to have some little parts in movies that I did here and there.
Okay.
If I could do a little radio work. One of the things that it's always important to me, and it's been my entire life, I'm not a very good team player.
Right?
I know that's a good thing for a lot of people.
It's a good thing.
But I've always been best when I have 100% control of everything, like the radio. I've worked at radio stations where I felt like my last long-time job. I felt like I worked on an assembly line or something. But most of my years in commercial radio, I always had 100% control of everything I did, and they wanted me to.
Right.
And that's when I'm the happiest. Like the radio show I do now, the Steve Potter Show, I own the hour.
Yeah.
And nobody tells me what to do, nobody tells me who to talk to, nobody tells me how long the segments are, nobody tells me what to say. That's when I'm happiest, when I have 100% creative control.
So 5 years from now, would you still want to be doing the Steve Potter Show? Mm-hmm. But you would want to be doing it walking distance to a beach?
There you go.
Okay, so now we're getting a little bit farther because it's like maybe what we're talking about is not the what or the who you want to be. You already have a sense of that, but you'd like to pivot toward a different place.
What I see you
a different
doing is helping me
location.
define my dream.
Yes.
All right, what's this book you brought along?
So actually, this is a book by a woman named Dr. Laurel Clark. It's called Dharma, Finding Your Soul's Purpose. And the reason I brought it is that she's a person who is doing exactly what she wants to be doing in this life. And so she is actually going to be at one of our meetups in about 2 weeks. She's going to be talking about finding your soul's purpose. So I brought this.
I'm going to ask you about the meetups in a second. Can you give us a little condensed Dharma story?
So the Dharma story is she actually went from living many, many years actually in a community or a commune. And she decided, I mean, she's got a really, really interesting story. And she decided one day when she had no control over money, no control over anything that was going on in her world, that she needed a car. Well, when you live in a community where you turn over all your money and all of your things like that, then what you have to do is you have no control over your personal possessions because you have none. So she worked her way out by writing about finding your purpose. She found her way out because she wanted to step out of that community. Mm-hmm. And so it's a really interesting story about her. And so she now helps people find their purpose. And in doing so, she found out a way to create the life she wanted to dream and step out of a community and into her own life.
So does her book, the one you're holding, does that sort of echo what Boomalally does?
It's that transition. How do I make that transition? How do I jumpstart that next chapter? Mm-hmm. Because it's about planning. It's about first figuring out who you want to be, what you want to do, where you want to do it, when do you want to start it, because you may not be able to start it today, but you could start the planning process and build a runway.
Right, because if I'm going to end up walking distance to that beach, I got to plan it.
You got to plan from here to the beach.
Yeah. Any other buddy stories come to mind? Because one interesting thing must be for you is to see people go through this,
yes,
and the light go off in their head and all that sort of thing.
Probably one of my favorite stories is about a woman named Marian Bruckner. And Marian is here in St. Louis. She was originally a New Yorker. And at 55, she decided she wanted to figure out how to make people stop killing each other. That was all she wanted to do. I want to figure out how to stop killing people, have people stop killing each other. And she decided the way she would do that is through photography. And so what she did was she said, I want to capture the individuality of everything, and I'm starting with bugs. And she became an internationally acclaimed wildlife photographer. And her whole goal was, I want to get people to stop killing each other, and if I can get them to see that they're an individual and they're living a life within the body they have, whether it's a plant or a little tiny bug, and you see that they live that life and that they have an individual being. And literally, she made it a practice regularly when she shot wildlife photography to ask their permission to take their picture because they were an individual. And now she's been on the covers of National Geographic. She's been on the covers of books by some of the best wildlife researchers in the world. And so, she lives here in St. Louis, and she's a story of somebody at 55 who said, I want to get people to stop killing each other through photography, and now she's 81.
Wow. Hey, you have two workshop events coming up.
We do.
So would you tell me about both of those?
Sure. The first is, it's coming up the 13th. It's called Morph.
That's
Pivot,
October 13th.
October 13th, Morph, Pivot, or Jump. Those are 3 different ways that you can approach changing careers.
Morph is changing. Pivot is a changing point.
So morph is, I want to stay where I am, but I just want to become somebody a little different.
Okay.
Pivot means, I'm going to change course just a little bit, and jump is,
Go for it.
I'm quitting. I'm going for it. And so
Right.
that's the first workshop. So that's the 13th.
And that's going to be where? Or?
It's going to be actually at a place called Medici Media Space, which is a wonderful co-working space nearby.
And you have another event.
We do, and this is about getting involved with the volunteer community. It's called the Many Faces of Community Engagement, because there are many, many ways of getting involved with the community, both paid and unpaid. And it's just understanding all of those different ways of doing it.
That's going to be on Saturday, October the 27th. Where's that going to be?
Correct, same place, Medici Media Space.
And getting involved with your favorite charity or cause.
Yeah, definitely. It could be, and this is where you have to think bigger. It's not just locally, although that's very, very important, but when you're 50, 55, 60, why not go on a scientific research expedition on a boat for 3 months counting dolphins? Right?
Right.
It's dreaming that bigger dream. If you love to travel, then build your love of travel with volunteerism, and let's figure out how to get you doing both.
Deb, earlier you mentioned the meetups you have. Can you be more specific about what those are, how often they happen, and what happens there?
Sure. We have a meetup that's called Celebrating Life After 50, and Meetup's a platform that you can go in like Facebook, and you can just say, I live in St. Louis, and this is what I'm interested in. So our meetup is called Celebrating Life After 50, and we meet the first and third Fridays from 9 to 11.
Every month?
Every month. Our next one is Laurel Clark. She's going to be talking. And so we try to bring in guest speakers and really explore what your dreams are and what you want to do.
So as a meetup for the person that this sounds interesting to, they don't know anything about it, and they just want to maybe go and listen?
They can just go and listen. They can actively engage. So with the first and third Fridays, we focus on sort of personal and career development, but we also do some really fun things that are just social to get people out talking with other people and meeting other people our age. And so, for example, on the 15th, we are doing the Old Webster Grove Jazz and Blues Festival. We're actually having a meetup there. We're meeting at the Green Door Gallery on that day, and we're going to enjoy jazz together.
My artist friend Marian Bradley shows a lot of her work there.
Very good.
Who's in this age category too. She's kind of living her dream too, continuing as an artist.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You also have a retreat or two that you're planning.
We've got a couple on the drawing board. One of them is with Marian Bruckner, and it's about sort of why aren't you doing what you want to be doing, right? Finding that sense of purpose. So that's one of them, yeah.
Well, in the minute or so we have left, Deb, what would you like people to think about or know when they're at this phase in their life and they're thinking about learning more about Boomalally?
Right.
What?
So I think what I would say is you want balance in your life at 50 and beyond. You want to work, you want to play, you want to create, you want to keep learning, and that giving back component is so important. And so that's what we're all about, is helping you find how do you balance your life across those 5 and plan for your future.
That's all it is, about making yourself happy in the long run, isn't it?
It really is.
Because if you're happy, you can make other people happy, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Deb, thank you so much, and I hope people will take advantage of this and contact you and find happiness.
Thank you very much.
Deb, thanks so much.
You're
Deb Gott.
welcome.
I'm Steve Potter. Thank you, and happy retirement. We'll see you next time on City Corner.